want to go ahead and do the pledge for me? Yeah. Well, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started this evening. And before we get started, I'm going to ask one of my esteemed colleagues here to do the Pledge of Allegiance with us this morning. So if we can all stand, please. Thank you, sir. Having said that, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we'll have roll call, please.
Commissioner Rodriguez Ceja,
Present.
Commissioner Isiano,
Present.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Present.
Vice Chairperson Lopez, Chairperson Franz. Just to state for the record, Vice Chairperson Lopez and Chairperson Franz are absent.
Thank you. Any public comment for items not on the agenda?
There are none.
Copy that. Moving on to the next part of our minutes, Planning Commission meeting minutes of June 12th. Go ahead and have some time to review those, if we can get a motion to have those approved.
Oh, actually, I just want to add,
Please.
make one edit, that there was continuance, so staff is going to give us a follow-up on the implementation of the housing element in an upcoming meeting.
Copy that. Thank you.
And I'll make a motion to adopt minutes with the edit, or the edits.
Get a second?
I believe I was absent on July 12th or June 12th.
Yeah. Is Tuesday?
All right, so that said, I will second the motion. Get a roll call?
Commissioner Rodriguez Ceja,
Yes.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to public hearing items, a request for date and time uncertain continuance of public hearing for Resolution 2091.
I'll make a motion to continue to a date, time uncertain in June 26, 2024.
I will second.
Copy, get a roll call?
Commissioner Rodriguez Ceja,
Yes.
Commissioner Isiano,
Yes.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to public hearing item 5.2, resolution number 2093, 94, and 2095.
Good evening, Commissioners. Kendra Reef, Principal Planner. Tonight I'm going to be presenting the Indio Gateway project. On October 18th, 2023, the applicant Philip Brown, on behalf of Majestic Realty, submitted a planning review application, conditional use permit application, and tentative parcel map application with associated environmental documentation for the subdivision of an approximately 19.09 acre project site for the development of a 7-Eleven gas station and convenience store with car wash, a Quinn Cat retail building, 6 light industrial buildings, and associated improvements. The property is located near the intersection of Jefferson Street and Indio Boulevard. Assessor's parcel number is 606-060-002, 005, and 691-190-035. The general plan designation for the property is Workplace Employment District, and the zoning for the property is light industrial. The project will be constructing an approximately 4,925 square foot 7-Eleven gas station, convenience store, and car wash, an approximately 34,685 square foot Quinn Cat retail building, and 6 light industrial buildings that are approximately 73,804 square feet in total. The 7-Eleven will develop a 16-pump gas station fueling island, a 4,925 square foot convenience store, and a 980 square foot automated drive-through car wash tunnel. The proposed Quinn Cat retail building will contain outdoor vehicle storage areas, an exterior dock fuel island, and a covered wash bay test area located at the northern end of the property nearest to the Interstate 10 freeway. The proposed multi-tenant light industrial buildings will contain loading areas and outdoor storage areas. The proposed project in its entirety will be constructing approximately 287 parking spots. 59 of the parking spots will be designed for electric vehicles, and 21 will be handicap accessible parking spots. Site access to the property will be taken from 4 newly proposed access drives on Indio Boulevard. The first access point located furthest to the west on Indio Boulevard will provide immediate access to the proposed 7-Eleven and Quincat retail building. The second access point located east of that drive will also provide access to the Quincat retail building. The 2 additional access drives off of Indio Boulevard will provide access to the remaining 6 industrial tenant buildings. The proposed 7-Eleven will have glass windows with brick siding located along the entirety of the building. The entryway will have a large aluminum clad awning covering a majority of the northern frontage, sidewalk, and entry point. The buildings will be utilizing a neutral color palette that have been utilized by similar buildings within the immediate project vicinity. The 7-Eleven will have a convenience store will have a maximum height of 22 feet, and the fuel canopy will have a maximum height of 17.6 feet. All mechanical equipment will be screened from public view. The proposed Quincat retail building will have large glass windows located at the front of the building. The walkway will have a large elevated aluminum clad awning that will provide shading over the walkway leading into the building. The perimeter of the building will be lined with drought tolerant landscaping that consists of, but is not limited to, large date palms, shade trees, and shrubs. The building will be constructed with stucco and cement plaster, and it will be painted in different shades of tan. The loading dock roll-up doors will be constructed of aluminum clad and will have an aluminum clad awning that will provide shading. The building will have a maximum height of 36 feet. The proposed light industrial buildings will be constructed utilizing stucco and cement plaster, and it will be painted in different shades of tan and gray. The buildings will have recessed entryways and will have formed precast concrete and aluminum storefront anodized dark bronze finishings. The buildings will have a maximum height of 34 feet. The proposed landscaped areas are along the perimeter of the project site and along the perimeter of all buildings and buildings open spaces. There will be landscaping within the parking medians and along the perimeters of the 2 retention basins on the project site. Landscaping throughout the project site consists of primarily desert and other low to moderate water use plants. The plant list includes, but is not limited to, date palms, blue glow agave, red yucca, California fan palms. There are 6 different types of trees and palms that are proposed that will line the walkways and entryways to emphasize the different entry points of the 7-Eleven, Quincat retail building, and 6 light industrial buildings. The proposed retention basins will also be landscaped, and those are on the east and western portions of the project site. Tentative parcel map 38687 includes a subdivision of an existing 19.09 acre parcel sites into 4 parcels. Parcel 1, which is where the proposed 7-Eleven will be located, would be 2.51 acres and is zoned light industrial. It's currently vacant. Parcel 2 would be where the proposed Quincat retail building will be located and will be 5.3 acres. It's also zoned light industrial and is currently vacant. Parcel 3 would be 3 acres and is also light industrial and vacant. And parcel 4 would be approximately 5.4 acres and is light industrial and vacant. Parcel A and B in this map are non-buildable lots that will be utilized as retention basins. The proposed parcel subdivision is consistent with the Indio General Plan and Unified Development Code. The parcel subdivision will not conflict with easements acquired by the public at large for access through or use of property within the proposed parcel subdivision, and it will not cause substantial environmental damage or substantially avoidably injure fish, wildlife, or their habitat. The required conditions of approval ensure the project will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, and the conditions prevent material injury to properties or improvements within the vicinity. So the project is compliant with the City of Indio General Plan 2040. The project is compliant with the City of Indio Unified Development Code. The applicant completed an initial study with mitigated negative declaration in compliance with CEQA to adequately analyze the project's potential impacts on the environment. The ISM&D determined that the project could have significant effect on the environment, but there will not be a significant event in this case because revisions in the project have been made with appropriate mitigation measures. With the application of relevant conditions of approval, the project can be approved, and conditions of approval are binding and must be adhered to. At this time, I would like to invite our Director of Economic Development, Mr. Carl Morgan, up to add to the staff report presentation. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, Carl Morgan, Economic Development Director of City of Indio. Commissioner Kristen Rodriguez-Ceja asked and received some information that you all received, and I'm here to give you context of that information, and just talk about a little bit about the project, the benefits of it, and then give you the context of that data. About 3.5 years ago, we met with Philip and a broker out on the site, and it's taken this long to get to this point. The city currently has less than 1% vacancy rates in our industrial areas, and I'm sure you're well aware of that. We're in a desperate need for more business park. We're substantially underserved with respect to industrial land in our general plan and to create additional new jobs in our community. 83% of our workforce goes out into the Coachella Valley every day outside of our city limits for work, for employment. And that results in a loss of potential revenue, sales tax revenue, gasoline sales, and restaurant sales. Gasoline stations are the city's second sales tax generator in our community, second behind our #1 automotive new car sales. Gasoline stations generate $155 million of gross annual sales in our community. In 2023, the total of 1% Measure X and the 1% Bradley Burns, the two sales taxes, one sales and use, one sales tax, $3.196 million to the city in revenue off of those gasoline stations. Of the City of Indio's sales tax, top 25 sales tax producers, 6 of those are in our top 25. So 6 fuel stations in our community are in the top 25 of our top 25 sales tax producers. The retail demand outlook, which I gave to you, that was sent to you from planning staff that we provided, essentially shows forecasted demand over the next 5 years to 2029 of another 20 million of potential gasoline sales need in our community. And I think part of that's actually tied to some of the folks that are leaving the community, and we're all about trying to create jobs and bring people back, and that's another thing that this project can create for us. We're not meeting the demand. We believe that there's approximately $50 million of gasoline sales demand that's leakage that isn't being captured in our community, and if we create more local jobs, our residents won't have to commute out. And I understand that this 7-Eleven is part of an economic driver for the ability to be able to pay for and reduce some of the costs of the Quinn building and the other 6 industrial buildings. So it does tie together. The benefits are a $27 million investment. Current dollars, that's about what it's going to cost to build. And I don't know if I think it includes the cost of the land as well, but it's at least $27 million. It might be upwards of that. It's a business retention. It keeps QuinnCat here. They've been a business in our community for a long, long time, and we appreciate having them here. They currently have 15 jobs, and they're going to add an additional 10 jobs. And their projected taxable sales revenues over the next 3 to 5 years are going to go north of $40 million. Part of the move to this larger facility is to help facilitate and allow them to floor new equipment, large construction equipment that then can be sold. If you don't floor it, you don't have it, you can't sell it. And at their current location, they have a limitation there. And then the construction of the additional 6 light industrial buildings totaling 73,804 square feet potentially can generate an additional 50 new jobs. And then those new jobs then have a multiplier effect of the people that work there that then go out and spend money, buy gas, eat at a restaurant, come downtown, do all those kinds of things. And of course, there may be limitations that I'm not aware of and understand under the ALUC criteria that goes over this property. I don't begin. It's outside my lane. I'm the economic development guy, not the planning guy. So I leave that to the planners. But those are my comments, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have with respect to what we gave you, and if there's additional information that you want downstream, happy to share that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Any questions?
No, I just want to say thank you for sending that out. I requested it out of curiosity. Now, it has nothing to do with the decisions being made today, but it was important for me to sort of understand where we were as far as the market is concerned, and, you know, just out of curiosity. So I appreciate you coming, giving us more context and this clarifying.
My absolute pleasure to do it. I'm happy to do it anytime, and I do recognize that a lot of what I said, it's context. It has really necessarily no bearing on what you're doing with respect to the land use decision, but it is something to consider.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have the applicant present today. Come on up, sir. Thank you.
My name is Philip Brown. I'm with Majestic Realty, and wanted to thank the planning commissioners, both present, and I'm not sure, is anyone on by video? I didn't think so. Okay. So thank you for being here tonight. We greatly appreciate it. A big thank you to the City of Indio staff. This has been a long journey, longer than any of us thought, to try to figure out how to develop this site. We have the property owner's representative here, and then Paulo Doria, who's here as well, helped us navigate kind of the waters with Quinn Caterpillar, who's here today as well, and the city. So we're excited to be here. There have been a lot of bumps along. Interesting site. It's a 19-acre site, as we've talked about. A number of other developers over the years have tried to develop this site. Obviously, you look at it and you go, great location, right off the freeway, the gateway into the city of Indio, but the configuration of the site make it extremely difficult. It is a very, very difficult site to site plan, given that we call it the crescent piece, given that obviously the far west and far east corners of the site are very difficult and essentially non-usable. We do have a number of ALUC, Bermuda Dunes airport restrictions that we had to deal with. And we've been fortunate to have Tracy and Justin from TNB. They've helped us kind of navigate all the studies necessary to do that. Another thing that I want to thank staff, Carl, Kevin, and Brian on, has been a journey we didn't know about when we first started, and that was the IID issue of no power. So we have worked pretty tirelessly with both some of the commissioners at IID, the inside counsel at IID, and then with staff to try to figure out what in the world is taking place in the Coachella Valley. I know you guys have spent as much time as we have on this issue. That has been the primary difficulty in really developing in this corner of the world. I want to commend you, though. We are working with a number of different cities in the Coachella Valley, and they have not had the foresight. They're quickly scrambling, but they have not had the foresight that you have at the City of Indio to try to figure out how you grow and where is the power coming from. So I commend city staff for that. The company I work for, we're a little unusual, just to give you a 2-minute broadcast of who we are. So I work for a company called Majestic Realty. We're based in the City of Industry. The company was started in 1948, kind of along the I-5 corridor. Our chairman and co-founder at the time was Edward Roski Sr. He came back from World War II, originally from Oklahoma, and told his wife and son, move out, we're not going back to Oklahoma. We're a little unusual. We're a family-owned company, but we're at the larger size. We develop all across the United States, but really Southern California is our bread and butter of where we like to go. We don't buy existing buildings. We love buying dirt, working with communities such as yourselves, bringing in users that are really necessary for the community and developing and growing. The other interesting thing is when we build a project, it is very seldom that we ever sell it. So we take a very different approach to our development. When we develop it, we want to make certain it's there for the community, it's there for a long period of time. We have buildings in our portfolio that are over 50 years old that some people would have torn down, and we figured out how to reuse them and work them. So I'll stop with that. Tracy will be presenting, but we're very happy to be here this evening, and I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the gentleman? No? We'll wait for the presenter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, Mr. Chair, for this evening. Prior to the last speaker, we'll just consider the public hearing open, make sure that we're good.
Okay. Good evening, Tracy Zinn with the consulting firm T&B Planning. We're the applicant's entitlement consultant. Let me see if I can. There you go. We do have a presentation that is a little bit repetitive of the staff report and some of the things are already said, so I'm going to quickly go through some of the slides and stop on the ones that contain some information that hasn't been said yet. So as staff mentioned, about a 19-acre site. There hasn't been any presentation yet on the existing condition of the property. It was just stated it was vacant. It's a highly disturbed site. The dirt's packed. There's also some dumping on the property that's creating some loose sand mounds, but primarily the site is heavily disturbed and not very environmentally sensitive. Here's some pictures of the property as seen from Indio Boulevard. We weren't able to get in from the freeway because the speeds, nowhere to pull over, but you'll see there the site is vacant. As mentioned, the site was designed to be general plan conforming, zone conforming. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more detail than staff provided in the presentation. So this is an enlargement of the 7-Eleven site. As mentioned, the building will be contain the mini mart. There'll be 16 fuel pump stations and a circular drive around the back. There'll be places for employees and customers to park. You'll also see where the car wash tunnel is on the eastern portion of the property closest to the detention basin. Staff did a really good job describing the architecture, so I'm not going to go over that again, but the slides are here. And we do have a slide of the color palette. Staff mentioned the colors. All the colors are consistent throughout the project with tans and grays. I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the QuinCat facility. So QuinCat will be relocating to the property from their existing location. The new building will be larger and more modern than their existing facility at 34,685 square feet. Customers will be parking in the front, and the back of the property will include an open area for equipment parking. There will be a display pad, as mentioned by staff, and in the back, see that little building in the back, that's a wash bay, so the equipment will be able to be washed on site. There'll also be a small fuel tank on the property as well to fuel the equipment that's stored on the property. Here's the architecture that was presented by staff. The architecture was designed to be very aesthetically pleasing from the view of Indio Boulevard. So you'll see that that there's scoring in the building walls, expansive glass. There's like a gray tint on the glass. The entryway for the customers and the employees will be very inviting and a very attractive looking building from Indio Boulevard. The roll-up doors for the large equipment will be on the sides of the property, and the visibility of these doors from Indio Boulevard will be visible, if not visible at all. And this is a view of the wash bay in the back. I don't think this one was in the staff report. And again, these are the side of the building on the west elevation and the south. Focusing on the industrial buildings, as staff mentioned, there'll be 6 industrial buildings ranging in size. Just go to the architecture real quick. Look at the site plan. The buildings are pushed close to Indio Boulevard, so they're very nicely designed from the front. There will be brick and other articulation elements on the front, so it will be a very attractive looking business park as visitors travel down Indio Boulevard. The truck areas will be in the back. There'll only be about 4 roll-up doors in the back and no visibility again from Indio Boulevard, and the color palette is complementary to the rest of the site. I just wanted to mention on the landscaping plan, you might be wondering what the pink areas are because there's very little landscaping that's pink. As mentioned, the site is in the hazard area for the Bermuda Dunes Airport. The pink areas on the landscape plan indicate where the plant material will be no higher than 4 feet, and that is to provide room for the safety areas for the airport. Staff did go through the landscaping, so we have just a few more enlargements. So the detention basin on the north side or the east side that will be landscaped. There'll be landscaping all around the 7-Eleven site with trees along Indio Boulevard, including the addition of a new sidewalk. The Quincat facility, as you see, will have desert landscaping along Indio Boulevard. There will be a plant height restriction in front of the building, but as you saw on the architectural elevation, the elevation is very nicely designed as facing Indio Boulevard. Same thing on the industrial area. The pink areas indicate areas where landscaping will be low. Indio Boulevard will be heavily landscaped in front of these buildings, and you saw the nice architectural design. Some enlargements here. And again, another retention basin on the west side. This is a depiction of the driveway location. So there will be 4 new driveways built to access the site. The first driveway will be a full movement at Jefferson Street and Indio Boulevard. Driveway 2 will be right in, right out. Driveway 3 is across from Burr Street. This project will be contributing to the installation of a new traffic signal at that location. And then driveway 4 will also be right in, right out. The applicant has committed to not use the driveway at Burr and Indio until that traffic signal is installed. The applicant is also committing to install frontage improvements and make improvements in the public right-of-way in front of the project. At the Jefferson Street and Indio Boulevard intersection, the existing center median will be modified to accommodate a new 200-foot left turn pocket. Also, Jefferson Street, as it approaches Indio Boulevard, will be restriped to accommodate new approach lanes, 2 new left turn lanes, a through lane, and 2 rights. So there'll be significant improvements in the public realm in front of the project, and the applicant is going to be making all of those installations. At driveway 2, just right in, right out lanes will be striped. Also at the location of Burr and Indio Boulevard, there'll also be improvements there in the public right-of-way, including, as I mentioned, contributions to a new traffic signal. All of the lighting on the property will be downward directed. The light fixtures will be modern. There'll be building-mounted lights on the buildings, and then the green marks on here indicate where the pole lights will be located. Again, these are all compliant with the airport height restrictions. As Mr. Brown mentioned, it was a very interesting site to design, given the restrictions and constraints that are on this property. As mentioned, the site design is completely zone conforming to the municipal code. In addition, it conforms to all of the regulations imposed by the airport restrictions. And there's one other thing I forgot. Just to sum up, and I think Philip might come back up with a representative from Quincat to talk about their facility plans, but the site will be utilized for an economic driving, employment driving use on the property. We'll be providing full and part-time job opportunities, provide a great opportunity for Quincat to stay in the community and relocate to a modern facility. Convenient access for a gas station being located right near the freeway, very convenient as vehicles attempt to get on the freeway, and also traffic and pedestrian improvements will be installed in the public right-of-way. I think with that, Philip, I'll turn it back to you, and maybe Quinn wants to make a few remarks about their site.
Thank you, everybody. My name is David Peterson, and I represent Quinn Company. I've been with the company 35 years. I'm the Vice President of Real Estate. Little history, Quinn Company is privately owned, been in business for 105 years. We're a corporation. And like Phil mentioned, the business models are a little different, but in terms of owning property, we don't sell either. A lot of our properties are still in the family and produce in their actual locations that we have throughout the state. Indio's been a great place to work. We see increased opportunity for our business. That's why we want to stay here. We essentially lost our lease, and we're on a temporary site at CES currently, and we invested a lot of money just to stay here, to make that property usable for our needs and through the approval of the city on a temporary use permit. So we see a huge growth opportunity. We currently have 15 employees at this location. I think we're going to see upwards to up to 20 to 25 employees, professional salespeople, technicians, vocational individuals for parts and service sales. And we'll be able to sell more equipment. Obviously, we sell equipment, CAT equipment. We also sell agricultural, Fendt and Massey Ferguson. And so we see this as a great opportunity to really plant our facility in Indio for the next generation. They're all generational purchases. And I've been there 35 years. We have employees that are upwards to 50. It's pretty amazing. We still have several, over 20 employees that have more tenure in the company than I do. Any questions that you guys might have for me in terms of CAT dealership or? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to come back up if there are questions for Majestic or for Tracy. We're here to obviously answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions?
Yeah, I'm hoping maybe you could walk me through some of the environmental mitigation strategies. It was said this will have a huge environmental impact, so I just want us to maybe if you could walk me through all of the things that we're doing to mitigate that.
Well, to clarify, I think we've stated there is not a large environmental impact. So I'll let Tracy.
Thanks for the question. A mitigated negative declaration was prepared in accordance with CEQA. The site is not highly environmentally sensitive, as I noted. It's highly disturbed. There's some dumping occurring on the property. But there is a potential for adverse environmental effects in a couple of topic areas. One, the site and really all the sites around it are sensitive for Native American resources. There's none on the surface of the property, but there has been some discoveries in the area, so there's always a potential that resources may be discoverable when construction begins and digging starts occurring. So there are requirements on the property for archaeological monitoring. Also, the city conducted tribal consultation with affected tribes, and there is a requirement for tribal monitoring as well, and then measures should any resources be uncovered. So that would cover the topic of cultural resources as well as tribal cultural resources. A full biological study was done. There's no sensitive resources that are, again, identified on the property for plants or animals or plant communities. However, like anywhere, there's potential for species like burrowing out and migrate onto the property. So the applicant will be obligated to conduct biological surveying before construction within 30 days of construction. And there's measures in place should there be any species identified prior to construction. Also, if there's a pause in construction for more than a certain amount of time, those surveys need to be done again to make sure, again, that nothing migrates onto the property. There's also regulatory requirements for hazardous materials monitoring should any contaminated soils, again, be found during the construction process. There's also a geotechnical report. They will be required to comply with all of the recommendations in the geotechnical report. And although there is no significant impact for the airport, because the project is designed in compliance with the airport restrictions, there is a provide an navigation easement to the airport for airspace.
Okay, thank you. And then just for clarification, AQMD doesn't get involved until after this process?
For which component of it? No, yeah, I know, but for which part, as far as like permitting the gas station or for permitting this project? This was, right, yeah, so this was posted on OPR's website when the document went out for circulation, and from April 29th, I believe it was, to May 28th. During that time, we received no comments from South Coast AQMD.
So no permit isn't required, or no study is required, unless they trigger?
When the 7-Eleven applies to get their permits for the gas station, I believe at that point they would have to contact South Coast AQMD, and anything related to pulling building permits. They would, as per conditions of approval for the planning review and conditional use permit, the applicant would have to comply with PM10 standards. But anything after that, the applicant at that time would have to contact South Coast AQMD.
Great, thank you, thank you.
So, Tracy, stay. Don't go. And one thing I wanted to add to what Tracy stated, Troy Cudlock's here, who's the owner's representative as well. This site has been studied multiple times. It was fully approved in 2017 by the City of Indio. So biological studies, habitat studies, air quality, all of those things, cultural, were all done at that time. We redid them in 2022. We then redid them in just 60 days ago.
Yeah.
So we've studied and studied and studied multiple times the site. So we feel very confident in the reports that have been given.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
It was a lengthy report, and I went right through it, so I really appreciate it. Really about, being able to communicate to the public about
Yeah.
what are all the measures that are being taken, because these are concerns for our community. And so doing my due diligence, yes, read through those reports and
Okay.
saw the timeline. You go any?
Any other clarifying questions? Or for staff? No? All right. This time, I'm going to go invite any public comments, if any, for the item.
We do have a public comment from Leslie Locken.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Thank you for allowing me to be here to speak tonight. I represent, my name is Leslie Locken, you have my information. I represent the property owner to the east. The property owner is TLC Properties, and Lamar is a subsidiary of TLC Properties. There is currently a billboard on the property that abuts the east retention basin. Our concern, well, first of all, we want to say that we love the project and we feel like it is a great use for this vacant site. We do see it as an enhancement to the property. Our only concern is the visibility of the west face of the billboard. I did provide some exhibits, and I'm not sure if you've had a chance to look at that. And I also did speak with Mr. Brown this afternoon and did relay my concerns about the visibility to the west face of the billboard. The concern is that there are 3 large trees, 2, I believe, fan palms and 1 palo verde, and they can get fairly large. The other concern is on the border, the east border of the retention basin. It calls for large-scale shrubbery. Our billboard height from the ground up, which is called the haggle, is 16 feet. The overall height of the board is 26 feet. We are concerned with large-scale shrubbery. Not sure what exactly you have planned for that, but we would ask for a consideration to revisit the landscape on that east end of the retention basin for a modification to lower shrubs and or maybe some agaves instead of the palm trees, or something where we're not concerned about a maintenance issue and it blocking the visibility. I want to add that the west face of that board is also a gateway for advertising into the city of Indio, and that board is used and instrumental to a lot of the city-owned businesses. In fact, currently there is a city business, a restaurant that's advertising on it now. So it's been a great marketing tool for the local businesses, and we would hate to see that the visibility go away and affect any advertisers as well as our own business. Any questions? Thank you.
Public comments? Ms. Mendoza?
There are no more comments, and all written comments have been sent to the commission. Okay.
Hello. Thanks for having me here. My name is Troy Cudlock. I'm with Cud Properties, Cud Development. I'm a local real estate broker, real estate developer here in the Valley for about 20 years now. I've been working on this project alongside everybody else for about 3.5 to almost 4 years, and just would like to voice my full support for the project. I've been working with the current property owners who are selling the property to Majestic Realty, and they're also in full support of this project. The history of this site is there's been many people that have tried to develop it over the 20 plus years that I've been around. None of them have been successful, but I know in working with Majestic and seeing their past history that they have the experience and the ability to make this happen alongside with the city's partnership. And so I think it's a great fit. I think it's great for the city. I think it's a fantastic project for the Gateway area and ties in really well with some of the development that's going on in there currently. I think that it's a large benefit to the community, adding jobs, and it was echoed, a comment I was gonna give a couple times, that the valley in totality has a huge shortage of industrial space, and I think this is very nicely designed, nicely laid out, very well located industrial space, and it will bring some very nice quality users that will bring revenue to the city with more jobs, more tax money, so on and so forth. So I'm in full support of the project, and so are my clients who own the property, and we just wanted to be here and voice that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It looks like there are no more comments.
All right. Seeing no further comments at this time, we're going to go ahead and close public comment.
Oh, actually, is it
Oh,
possible
sorry.
to bring the applicant back up, Mr.
Absolutely.
Brown?
Mr. Brown.
Just one more question as
Yes.
the public comments were being addressed. So the landscape plan, as you heard, I'm wondering if maybe we could talk about addressing some of those things. And then also, I understand there's, we have certain limitations in some areas because of the height, but I'm curious about enhancing the landscape plan in the parking areas. Like, you're familiar with our area, it gets very hot. It's 120 degrees on a given July. And one of the things, and I've brought this up for various commercial projects, is it's very important when you can find a shady spot to park in. And so I'm just curious if there's an ability for consideration to enhance the landscape plan to include more shade in these areas, of course pending the ability to do that based on what the airport allows. So just wanted to see if you could maybe address some of the concerns that were raised and what I'm raising now.
Yeah, so thank you. So for the first point, we did have a chance to talk earlier with Leslie, who's representing Lamar. We have no issue making sure their line of sight is clear with city approval. We're more than happy to work with them on figuring that out. So that was the first thing we wanted to take care of. Second thing, and I'll let Tracy maybe address this a little more topically, we do have a number of restrictions from ALUC as to what plant materials, what heights, and where those plants can be located. So Tracy.
If you recall the landscaping plan I brought up in those purple areas, so per the ALUC restrictions, there's a certain amount of what they call clear area that needs to be provided on the property. So if there was ever an aircraft emergency, there would be some place for crash landing or visibility. Those can be moved around. So I think we would be willing to work with staff to enhance the landscaping so long as the project is able to meet the clear area requirements from ALUC.
Yeah, my question was for the area that isn't colored pink, which is where the gas station is located, parcel A or 1. That's where I was, my question, just because you have, parking in that area, and it's a commercial building, and so I can imagine that people will be coming in and out often. There's lots of circulation, so it didn't seem like there was that designation for that piece of the development.
For some reason, I don't think it showed well.
But
Yeah.
is it on there? Well,
Yeah. Yeah, it's fairly heavily landscaped, as you can tell by the plan. And I don't know, was this slide in there?
It was.
Yeah, okay. So we actually enhanced quite a bit of that area. We do see this, we want to be very careful. We do see this as the gateway into the city. So we went back with our landscaping architects and enhanced all of that area on the corner.
Yeah. Well, my question is about the parking space. It's just, and this is part of, you know, the yeah. Yes, and so just because, you know, one is just public health. In general, people tend to want to find that one parking spot under that one tree that you have in the corner.
I did it earlier.
Yeah, exactly. I'm that same person as well. And so for me, it's, you know, could we consider adding to that to enhance it a bit more? It does all sorts of great things for us. It cools the area down. It helps with mitigating air quality. So that was why I was raising it. If it's possible in this section, since it's not currently being you know, considered for the open space, enhance it, and then to address the public comment about the height further to the west and the east, I believe, is what was raised, to make sure that, you know, we're being good neighbors to our neighbors there.
Yeah, we're fully agreeable to that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, and just one more question. Sorry, I one more question. Could you maybe walk me through phasing? It was said earlier there was a plan to use some of the funding to be able to build out. So I'm just curious about expectancy of the project to be fully built out. And I know there was, you know, it was raised, this is going to be very good for us. It's going to create lots of jobs. Thank you so much for putting that context in there. I think we're all really excited to hear about that, but I'm curious about what does that look like as far as phasing? When can we start expecting those impacts to come in?
So thank you for that. That's a great question. So I'll talk just generically about the site itself. The site will be graded, all of the utilities placed, and the 2 detention basins built all at the same time. The first building to be constructed will be Quinn. Quinn has a very strong need to get this facility built quickly. All of the efforts will be going into Quinn. After Quinn has started and is under construction, then both will work to both ends. But I'm the first to say Quinn is our goal to get them up and operating first.
So we currently, because I saw a site plan, do we have any sort of contract or negotiation or, you know, anyone specifically going in there? And is it the same for the other buildings? Like, do we have any interested parties?
With Quinn?
No, with the gas station and the other buildings.
Yes, so we have 7-Eleven we're working with on the west end, and then we're working with a number of different groups on the east end. Yeah.
Any other questions? You had a few questions, so thank you for asking those, Commissioner. And a couple of the other questions are just comments. I just wanted to say thank you very much for the thorough presentation from all interested parties, number one. And secondly, I appreciate the idea of having this unusually crescent-shaped parcel, and some of the public comments that were shared. Also, one of the comments I wanted to make was thank you in advance to, you know, obviously having these conversations already with, you know, our other partners here, our advertising partners in the community, to ensure that we can meet, you know, their need and fulfill that. So I appreciate that. Secondly, you'd mentioned earlier there was going to be a potential signal light at Burr Street. Now, where along the phase would that be? And based on whatever traffic study may have done, and I'm not certain if that was conducted by staff already, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, so I read through that in the report. Just wanted to get some clarification as to what phase that will come into play.
There's a condition that the driveway where that signal's going, that none of the buildings needing that driveway can be occupied until that signal is in. That contributions toward that signal will be made by other developers as well toward it. So this project is responsible for paying its fair share toward that signal. But if this project needs that driveway to access those buildings before the city's able to install it with funds collected from this project and other projects that also need it, then the applicant would need to install that before they can use those buildings.
Just to add to that, it's condition number 18 prior to a certificate of occupancy and resolution number 2093.
Thank you. Thank you so much, folks. This time, I'm going to go ahead and close the public meeting, okay? And move on to discussions. Any discussion? Nico? Senor?
Well, I do have some comments. I want to say thank you to staff, to our city attorney, to the applicant, and Mr. Morgan, thank you for being here. I bombarded all of these people with tons of questions, and this is the fun part of my job here. So thank you all for really giving us a very thorough presentation and helping us really understand not only the process of getting to this very point, but how the decisions were being made. And so, you know, I usually get to sit up here and not knowing any of that, I just throw things out. But it's very helpful to be able to understand how we got to this place. I only saw the site plan, didn't know any of the history. So, you know, thank you. I want to say thank you to all of you. Very promising that the applicant is willing to work with us with adding more landscape and addressing some of the concerns of the neighbors. I think that's you know, a really good thing for being a good neighbor, but also, you know, I'm worried about the traffic. I'm worried about cars. I'm worried about emissions because it will be creating a place for more cars. And I know that it's not significant enough for there to be something, or it will be up to South Coast AQMD to decide for that. But starting off with being able to add more greenery trees, that already starts doing some of that mitigation. So, you know, I think that's a really promising thing. I realize, and I would have been very excited to do even more, but realize we have some restrictions because of the Bermuda Dunes Airport, and so totally understandable. I do think that, you know, and I'll be bringing this up when it's comments, it really did bring all sorts of things into question for me as I was looking at this project about the fact that we're doing a, you know, bit of a concentration of a commercial zone in this area, and it's currently zoned for light industrial, and I know that that comes with certain things. So that was really where a lot of the questions about, you know, the project and its viability and how long it's going to take to come to fruition, and what are the types of folks that are going to be occupying, and you know, that's really where my head was at, although it had nothing to do with the decision that is being made tonight. So I really appreciate you guys all doing your due diligence with me to ask all those questions. And ultimately, you know, I got a chance to talk to our staff and our city attorney about the project, and it looks like it's all pretty straightforward, and some of the concerns that I had were addressed, and it seems like we've maximized what we can as a city for this project. And so just wanted to share some of those concerns I had and some of the responses I received.
Nico?
I think it's a great project, especially being the fact that there's 6 industrial buildings being added to this area in such close vicinity to the freeway and the gas station, and you know, with the tax revenue that brings in. I think this is a great project for the area. Thank you, everyone, for your presentations and entertaining our questions.
Yeah, once again, I'd like to echo the same sentiments as my colleagues here, and thank you once again to the team here that did present this evening. Do appreciate Mr. Morgan coming out, providing us the economic impact of such a project. So really appreciate that. And to one of our local developers supporting the opportunity out here and looking at how we can create a more viable, you know, business sort of community in that area. As you mentioned earlier, the gateway into the city. And I do appreciate the fact that you folks did take the time to really do a thorough job in providing yet another opportunity for our community to really, you know, come to terms with what to expect for that area. We realize it's been that area, that desolate piece of land, for quite some time. Been here for all my life, and I've seen it literally every day off and on that freeway. So I appreciate the fact that we're finally going to do something there. Knock on wood. Okay. So having said that, I just want to thank you once again for the opportunity and learning a lot from you folks in this particular industry. So thank you. Appreciate that. Having said that, we're going to go ahead and call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, if I may, I heard two potential conditions of approval that
yes.
the planning commission may want to add. I'll just read them into the record. They would go into all the resolutions, I believe all three resolutions. The first one is, this is what I heard, so please correct me if I'm wrong, at the east of the retention basin to allow for lower shrubs so as to not block the visibility of the existing billboard. And then the second one is to work with staff to enhance landscaping to provide more shade if possible, so long as all of the landscaping and I would say the requirements of the Airport Land Use Commission are met.
Did you want to be more specific to building one parking lot specifically, Commissioner, or make that more general?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it in the commercial area.
All right. Having said that, and thank you for the clarification on that, Miss, we can go ahead and get a motion for this evening.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2093, resolution number 2094, and resolution number 2095.
I'll second.
Commissioner Rodriguez Ceja,
Yes.
Commissioner Isiano,
Yes.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
motion carries.
Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Welcome to stay for an extra couple hours for the next meeting. I'm teasing. Thank you. All right, moving right along to no action items this evening, correct? Staff, no study session items this evening?
No, there are not.
All right. Commissioner comments, if any?
I got him. Well, I want to start off by saying that one of the things that came up to me as we were, should we just wait?
We're just going to go ahead and take a quick 2-minute recess while folks do their little salutations as they leave and as we prepare to conduct the rest of the business. Thanks, everybody. All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order at 7:01 p.m. And Commissioner comments.
Yes. I want to start by saying when I first started doing this study session for the previous item that we just heard, the first thing that really jumped at me was light industrial. That has been a topic of conversation in this planning commission for over a year now, and we just did, City Council just approved a prohibition with the recommendations that we did for storage facilities in these types of land use designations. And so when I first looked at the packet, I said, well, here we have this big commercial development, and mind you, it does have an industrial park and all of the great things that we heard about what this project is going to be. And so I worked with staff and with our city attorney to better understand what was within our ability to really talk about what the intended use of our light industrial and our heavy industrial zones are, and really understand that that's not for the conversation is not with the applicant. The applicant went through our process and did all the things they needed to do. So it was very limiting what we here as the planning commissioners could really come back to the applicant and say, maybe this is not the best place for you to put this type of development. And the reason, as I understand it, and please feel free to add, as I understand it, is that we have something we talked about during the conversation about the storage facilities is we have not identified what we mean by really doing job creation in these types of zones. And so we had talked about maybe that's something we want to do later down the line. Maybe there's a minimum amount of jobs that get created through the types of developments. And so that was the first thing that came to my mind. The other was, currently, that area is becoming a commercial zone. There are already 3 other gas stations in the area. There's been a bunch of retail, food, which is a great thing. And if we were able to get something there, maybe some, good new green jobs, that's a great place for new workers to be at, because they get to stay in India, they get to shop in India, they get to go to lunch right across the street and do all of the great things. But I don't know that that was the intended or the best use for that particular area for the land use designation. And so what I hope that maybe we can do, and I know that we're not the full body here, but we can hopefully come to a consensus, is maybe give some direction to staff to help us go down a path where we can really start looking at what we can and should be doing with this land use designation, and then maybe make a recommendation for some policy change to the city council. And so I just wanted to raise that and say these were all the things that were running through my head, and really understand that the applicants were playing by all of the rules that we've said, but I don't know that we've necessarily gotten to what we initially wanted to get when we said no to storage facilities, and now our very limited light industrial zones are being utilized. Half of it, or almost half of it, is going to be commercial retail. And so I just wanted to post this to the commission and see if what you all thought about my observation, and if we wanted to work with our great planning team to help us make some recommendations.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because it was something I was wrestling with as well. Obviously, on one hand, as we all heard the presentation by Director Morgan in terms of the revenue potential. Now, when you compare that to a self-storage facility, which, correct me if I'm wrong, staff, but the revenue potential there is almost non-existent when we compare it to what the revenue potential is of this project. So having said that, and setting that aside, right, there needs to be some discussion, and I agree with you, Commissioner, in relationship to the number of jobs, right, job creation. Clearly, in this particular project, I wrote down that they have projected up to 25 jobs. I think 10 of them, which would be new, because I think there was 15 existing positions, if I'm not mistaken. But having said that, I do agree that there needs to be some planning study on that to make some recommendations, potentially looking at gleaning from potentially other cities, other municipalities, in terms of what they've been able to do for light industrial. I agree.
Well, I would say for all of our industrial zones, but.
Any other comments, Mr. Ciano? No?
Is that Nico? Is that something that you are?
I'm agreeable
to. Okay. At a later date, and as resources and all of that permits, definitely something that we want for you all to consider.
Thank you. And just if I may, my only questions, a couple questions is, because I have a lot of questions that are being asked of me. And speaking of gas stations, what is the update with the Tower Market by John F. Kennedy? There's been a significant stall.
Yes, there has been. The Tower Market is currently working with IID to resolve some issues that they are facing at that site.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
quick question tagging on to that note, do we foresee any difficulties with that area off of 42 in Monroe where all that new construction is starting? Because that also seems like it was graded and they've done some work, but not seen much over the last month or two.
The property owner has worked with IID to do some line extensions for the distribution lines in that area, and I believe, as last that I heard, that those issues have been resolved, so they will be resuming construction in that area
Thank you.
for the Raising Cane's, In and Out, Salad and Go, all the stuff going on over there.
Any other questions, comments? All right. Seeing none, any staff items for us?
I wanted to let you guys know, if you have not heard already, that Director Kevin Snyder is going to be leaving the City of Indio. He has taken a position with the City of Chandler, Arizona, and his last day is going to be this Friday.
Well, congratulations, Mr. Snyder. It was all the work he did for us in tapping into Arizona, right, for all the homework that he did. I'm teasing.
I also wanted to introduce you guys to our planning fellow, Miss Aaliyah Aguilera. Aguilera, yes.
We were hoping for a presentation from you about your studies, and no, I'm just kidding. Welcome to the team. We're really glad to have you.
Well, thank you for that, Kendra. Appreciate that. And all the best to Kevin, and we wish him all the best. Hopefully, we get to see him before he leaves Friday, right? Having said that, are we ready to adjourn, everybody? Yeah. All right, let's do this. We'll adjourn. 7:09 p.m. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mendoza.